Hi everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. We are gonna go ahead and focus the damn camera. Okay, welcome back to my booktube channel. Today is another tag video. Ta-da! This time I have to thank the lovely Kathy for essentially tagging me to do the Library 411 tag, which I am very much excited to do because I love the library. So much so that about a third of the cards in my wallet are library cards. So I will go ahead and link the original creators of the tag as well as the tag questions down below in the description box, but let us go ahead and get into the books, shall we? Okay, so these questions are designed to familiarize you with resources and things that are available at the library that you may not necessarily know about. I did know about most of these, considering that I did work in a library for a few years when I was in high school as basically like a page, which is the person that shelves the books and organizes things and occasionally helps patrons use the catalog, things like that. So let's go ahead and begin. Information Desk, a book that was helpful to you for any reason. This is probably going to get this video demonetized, but that book was the one called I Heart Female Orgasm. You can imagine why that might have been helpful for me. Especially Return Bin. What are 2 books you read and immediately wanted to return because you disliked, or a recent DNF? Okay. For this, I'm going to go with a recent DNF, and that was my book of the month from last month, The Last Equation of Isaac Severy by Nova Jacobs. I just really could not get into this book, and that made me sad because the premise was so interesting. An elderly mathematician dies, leaving behind a mysterious formula, and there are like extenuating circumstances, but I just didn't like it. It had everything that I expected to like, but I didn't, and I didn't like the writing, so was happy to not finish that one. Number 3, Hold Section, your most anticipated release, which you can't wait to get your hands on. Oh my goodness, let's go off on a very brief tangent about the Hold Section. I spend so much time basically using the library catalog as my own personal shopping list to put things on hold for myself. Yet I still go out and buy books. So these are some recent releases that I actually purchased. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Not So Stories, a short story collection edited by David Thomas Moore with a foreword by Nikesh Shukla. And The Girl Who Never Read Noam Chomsky, which you can't really see because of the bright glare, by Jana Casale. I'm sure you will hear about those in a wrap-up or TBR at some point. Community Classes and Study Rooms, a book you loved that was a school assignment. So this one is technically cheating because I was never actually assigned to read this as part of school. I didn't read it until I was an adult, but it is probably my favorite book that is typically assigned as school reading, and that is The Giver by Lois Lowry. If you're not really sure what all the fuss is about with people talking about The Giver, I'm not even going to try to explain it. I'm just going to put the book in your hands and go, "You're welcome." Okay. Number 5, Computers, a modern classic you love or a favorite sci-fi. I talk a lot about sci-fi and fantasy on this channel, so I thought I would switch it up and talk about a modern classic that I love, which is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. DVD rentals, your most anticipated or favorite in recent history, book to movie or book to TV adaptation. Or a book that felt cinematic, or a book you wish would be adapted into a movie or TV series. Whew! Favorite one that I saw recently? Love, Simon. Again, obvious reasons, cause gay stuff, and I love it, and it was cute and adorable and a great adaptation. The one that I'm most excited for upcoming is not going to be too much of a surprise to anybody on BookTube, but that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which I believe is coming out next year as a film. Either next year or 2020. Cannot wait to watch this. Okay. Library bookstore / sale. A random book you picked up and really enjoyed, or show off your favorite Bookish merch. I'm going to do the favorite Bookish merch because I pick up a lot of random books. So I have 2 things for this. The first is this little pin. We're gonna focus here. The first is this little pin that I got when I was in 3rd grade. It says Star Reader on it, and it was a prize for being the person in my class who read the most pages that year. Anybody say that they're really surprised by this? I continuously read more than 100 books every year, despite, needing to do things like feed myself, walk a dog, maintain a social life. Yeah, this is easily one of the most important things in my life, always has been. And the other thing that is a piece of favorite Bookish merch is this shirt, which was to celebrate the 100th episode of the All the Books podcast that's put on by Book Riot discussing new book releases. It says happy reading on this side, and on the back it says All the Books 100 episodes. You cannot get this anymore, but I will go ahead and link to their site down below if you'd like to learn more about the podcast and the other work that Book Riot does as a website. Next is Teen or Youth Room, favorite YA or favorite book you read as a kid, or a book you can't wait to share with your future kids, nieces, and nephews. So a book that I can't wait to share with the kids in my life, once they're old enough to read it, I suppose, is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. The title really does not show up super well. Wow, okay, I adored this book when I was a child. I turned all of my siblings and my parents onto it as well, and I cannot wait to read it or have it read to me by children in my future. Next is museum tickets. This is a cool thing that I actually did not know could happen until moving to Seattle. A lot of libraries, just by virtue of you having a library card, will give you free admission to local museums in your area. So definitely check that out and see if that's something that your library offers. My library lets me go to certain local museums for free once a month and then have reduced admission at other times. But hey, that was something that I had no idea existed. I just assumed that I would either not go see museums because they are expensive in the United States, or I would just end up shelling out a fortune to go see something. But I don't have to now, which is really awesome to know. So that question was a book that made you feel a bit more cultured upon completing it. That book is Possession by A.S. Byatt. This is a literary fiction novel about the parallel stories of Victorian poets and the scholars who study their lives. I adore this book. It is very dense. It is extremely luscious, written in the style of an amazing, amazing Victorian novel, and it definitely made me feel very, I'm a fancy person. I can go to a cocktail party and chatter above the hoi polloi or whatever. It's not really a snooty book, but it does deal a lot with culture and scholarship and academic elitism, so it definitely made me feel very cultured after having finished it. Next is Overdrive or Hoopla, an audiobook that you love. Now, I kind of came late to the game when it comes to Overdrive and Hoopla because most of my audiobook listening I did when I was in high school and my library didn't have that capability, so I listened to a lot of things through Audible. But my favorite audiobook that I listened to at that time was the audiobook of my favorite modern classic, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. That was actually my introduction to the book. I didn't own a physical copy of the book until maybe a year to 6 months after I had listened to the audiobook for the first time. So yeah, awesome audiobook. Request to purchase, a lesser-known book that you want more people to know about and read. So this is the first in a series, and that is Village School by Miss Reed. That is a pseudonym of a woman who was a school teacher in England in the 1950s, 60s, etc. And she wrote these semi-autobiographical series of novels about her time as a village school teacher in post-war England. These books are charmingly delightful and sweet and just a balm for the soul. If you are at all interested in stories of friendship, the importance of teachers, the importance of education and reading and community, do yourself a favor and check out these books. We did have to request some of these for purchase at my library because the series is quite long and they didn't have but really worn down, beat up copies of some of them. So I did request a few of them for purchase, but it's well worth it if you're just looking for a comforting read. Okay, and then Sanctuary. This is another thing that you may not know about your local library, but if you are a person in crisis, especially if you are a youth in need of a safe place to stay, you can talk to a librarian and they have the resources to be able to get you in touch with somebody that can help see to your needs. There's also a lot of resources, even if you are not immediately facing a crisis, to put you in touch with things like housing, hygiene resources, public health resources, LGBT stuff, anything that you really need help with. You can find the way to it with a librarian. Question for Sanctuary is a book that is your safety net, is like home to you, or helped you through a troubled time. This book continues to do that again and again, which is why I will never stop talking about it, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It gave me a voice when I felt like I had none. It gave me a person that I could look up to, admire, emulate. It gave me a story that I could escape into, and it gave me a lasting love of women's literature, especially from the 18th and 19th centuries, that has persisted and led me to so many other great books and great authors. This is my second reading copy of this that I've ever had. The first one was destroyed by a friend I unwisely lent it to, but it is really well loved. This is back from when you could buy a paperback this size for $7.95. So that gives you an idea of how long I've had this, that I paid about $8 new for this book. I love it so much. One day I'll need to make an entire video just on how important Jane Eyre as a book and a character and a world means to me. But for now, that is going to wrap up the Library 411 book tag. I'm going to leave a list of people that I tagged down below, but if you don't see your name listed, don't take it personally, but please do complete the tag. And make sure to tag me on social media if you do decide that you're going to make a video or a blog post or anything like that about this, because I would really love to see what you come up with. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!